Welcome to the first video of section 2.5, Solving Quadratic Equations. In this section, we are going to learn we have many different ways to solve quadratic equations, which is written in standard form up here. And in this section, we'll be focusing how to solve quadratic equations by factoring. When we start this, we want to make sure our quadratic equation is written in standard form and we have it set equal to 0. Notice in standard form we have our highest exponent is a 2. This lets us know that we have a quadratic equation. Once we have our quadratic equation set equal to 0, we're going to go ahead and factor that and use the zero product property. Note, you might have to review factoring, which was done earlier in this course. We won't be showing you how to factor in this video. Let's take a look at number 1. Our equation is in standard form. There's no bx, but that's okay, and it is equal to 0. If you notice, we have a greatest common factor of 3. So we're going to go ahead and factor that out. And notice we also have the difference between two squares. So we can factor this a little bit more. From here, we're going to use our zero product property, setting each parenthesis equal to 0, or each factor. So in this case, we're going to have two solutions. X is going to equal 3, and x is going to equal negative 3. Moving on to number 2. We do have a quadratic because our highest exponent is a 2 here. However, our quadratic is not equal to 0. So we are going to subtract 21 from both sides in order to make sure that this quadratic is set equal to 0. There we have it. Once it's equal to 0, go ahead and factor. And then we're going to use our zero product property again. And if we add 7 to both sides in this first equation, we'll get 7. If we subtract 3 from both sides, we'll get negative 3. So we have an answer, two answers, x is 7 and x is negative 3. Moving on to number 3, once again, we do not have standard form. I want to start out by distributing this 4w. And I still don't have standard form because remember, in order to have standard form, my equation must equal to 0. So I am going to subtract 3 from both sides to get this equal to 0. And from here, we'll go ahead and we'll factor. And so we went ahead and we factored our quadratic, and now let's use the zero product property by setting each factor equal to 0. We're going to solve. Dividing both sides by 2, we'll get 3 over 2. So our two answers are w equals negative 1/2 and w equals 3/2. Let's go ahead and move on to number 4. Now, whenever you factor, you always want to make sure you're looking for a greatest common factor first. In this case, we'll notice we have a greatest common factor of 2, x. I'm going to go ahead and factor out the 2x. And now I'm going to go ahead and factor what's inside our parentheses here, leaving our 2x on the outside like so. And in this case, if you'll notice, we have 3 factors here. We have the 2x, the x plus 1, the x plus 10. So we're going to set all 3 factors equal to 0 in this case. And solve. So now we have 3 possible answers, 0, -1, and 10. And that's the end of the first video to section 2.5.